cycle, and it will all depend a little bit on how much fuel they were able to save on that most recent safety car, which is one of the longer ones we've had, of well over 3/4 of an hour. I think it was about 50 minutes in the end, the most recent safety car, to enable a couple of barriers to be replaced, as well as or at least one barrier to be replaced, another barrier to be checked, and then that during that period of very nearly an hour, quite a lot of fuel saving was going on. But of course, if you end up saving fuel to the nth degree, you end up bumping into your 3-hour drive time limit rather than running out of fuel. Now, Rob Austin got into the car 2.5 hours ago, so he's got about half an hour of driving time left, as did Adam Burgess. Simon Harrison has a little bit longer than that left, and Callum Hutchings has longer than any of them, so that's the order that they're going to be coming in, the top half dozen or so. Just looking down the list a bit further, Marino Franchitti making good progress, and he's bounced up onto the top 30 screen once again, into 24th place in fact for Marino Franchitti. How far off? The 5 laps off the lead lap. One of those laps can fairly easily be accounted for with the unwarranted, apparently, penalty that car had. But other than that, the team's been struggling a little bit with pace. 488 roll centre, that's now been handed from Ian Stinton over to Graham Coombs. So Graham Coombs at the wheel of the 488 roll centre car, he's up into 17th place. Well, Martin Short is no doubt having a nice sleep somewhere, and he'll get into the car once it dries out and gets light. So for the moment at least, the rain, well, it may not have stopped, has eased to just a persistent drizzle. Temperature though is still extremely cold. I've been out in it recently, but last time I did go out it was down to 6 degrees. The weather app at the moment suggests that we'll get down to 6 degrees in the coldest part of the night, and that's when, apart from anything else, just getting the tyres to work for you becomes a bit of an issue. But at the moment it's really just getting the water off the track, and at least with only whatever it is, 68 brake horsepower that these cars deliver, there isn't an awful lot of power to worry about, so you just drive it as fast as it will go, and worry about how you control it when you get up to the point of losing grip. So the race leading car has gone through, and he has indeed lapped Dean Tompkins. So Adam Burgess on that lap has succeeded in putting a lap between himself and the 3rd place car. So we're down to just Adam Burgess and Callum Hutchings, the Citroen Racing and Old Hat Motorsport cars, on the lead lap. Dean Tompkins not being able to resist the challenge, and so having to allow the leader past him, and so going a lap down. And Simon Harrison in 3rd place is now just 8 seconds, so this may be on for Simon. I said he might run out of fuel before he caught up with Dean Tompkins, but Simon Harrison charging along, and I think he's probably going to have enough fuel to get through before he does run out of fuel. So Simon Harrison, a real prospect of getting up into 3rd place. There he goes, in fact across the line now, and it means that Dean Tompkins still hasn't come through. Yes, he has. Sorry, Dean Tompkins has come through. It just happened very close together. They were going through. They went through absolutely together, Simon Harrison and Dean Tompkins, but Simon just ahead as they crossed the line. So Simon Harrison up into 3rd place in the Circuit Pro car. Car number 385. Somebody wake up Patrick Watson, tell him. No, don't really. He won't appreciate it. With Tim Hartland still preparing to take over the 333 Circuit Pro car, and now the attention moves to Rob Austin. He's got another minute and a half, so he's going to be beyond what Rob Austin can do. But Rob Austin then into 5th place with the 333 Tollbar racing car. Ollie Allwood is 6th with 394 AB Motorsport. Those gaps over a minute back to those two cars. But Steve Glynn, but Ollie Allwood has just taken that place, isn't he? So Ollie Allwood only just now moving up into 6th place. Steve Glynn back to 7th in Orange Motorsport, having just lost that place on the lap. In 8th place, car 318, is Clive Brookson with the Eastgate Automotive Racing car. He's just done his best lap of this stint since he's been in the car. He's only been in the car for a few number of laps. In car 318, 10 laps that Clive Brookson has been in the car, and so 321 the best that he's managed in that time. Gary Previll in the Silver Lake car is 9th, 41 seconds behind Clive Brookson, and Katie Milner, newly into the Team Merlin car number 480, is currently 34 seconds behind Gary Previll in the Silver Lake car, but I don't think she's going to be catching him just yet, because Gary is really on a bit of a charge, although it hasn't been that long that Katie took over behind the wheel of the 480. Kieran McDonald is next up in car number 390, the ASR car. Then in 12th place, a car that we talked about quite a lot, but he's faded away a little bit now. Kind of a 411, Stuart Lynn in the Kraken Motorsport car. I'm not sure why. What explanation I can offer for that car having faded away as much as it has. Stuart Lynn recently having taken the car over from Ron Lynn, that's probably why, because he's only just taken over at the wheel of that one. And then behind him is 347 Declan McDonnell at the wheel of the Mack Attack Racing Citroen number 347. And then it's ITC1 with Paul Donkin at the wheel in 14th place, car number 325. And then the Acura Celtic car, Stephen James at the wheel of number 474, ahead of 319 Scuderia Sundial, Grant Hatfield driving. Then got Graham Coombs in the Roll Sense car 488 we've spoke about a few minutes ago. And that's the story of this race thus far. 10 hours now on the list. Certainly, while I suggested the rain wasn't coming down any harder, the track not drying any, and no real sign of much improvement in lap times. Adam Burgess' most recent lap of 3 minutes 19. And we are getting a bit closer to the end of Adam's stint. Either 2 or 3 laps for Adam still to go in 376. Currently on the far side of the circuit, coming past the International Pits wing complex is Adam Burgess in the race-leading Citroen car. Currently on his 166th lap. The car having been handled so far by just 3 drivers. Darren Beckley, Adam Burgess and Chris Nyland, the 3 drivers who have been out in the race-leading car. So it's still fairly close at the top, but as I say, rather than looking at gaps, we've been more interested to look at when the car's due into the pits, because that tends to be what changes before the gaps lead to changes in position, although we've seen Simon Harrison taking over third place and already opening up 17 seconds from Dean Tompkins, who came back into the race in third place following his pit stop. And just as we come to the kind of time that Adam Burgess is thinking about coming into the pits, the safety car comes out once again. That's actually not going to help Adam too much, because he's got quite a long way to go round before he gets to the pit lane entrance. The safety car then on its way out onto the circuit at Cops Corner, and once again we have the chase around the circuit to see what has caused this latest safety car procedure to be deployed. This being the 11th such, and I think the answer is that it might be a fairly quick one, because there's a car off on the infield of Club Corner, so straight on at the left-hander at Vale, and then the or Club In, depends what you call Club Corner, but there is a car off at the end of the Vale, and that has been left beached in that part of the gravel bed, which is a very traditionally difficult gravel bed to get out of, and so we're going to need to get a rescue unit, tow truck, to the aid of that car on the entrance to Club Corner. Club In is just a little bit too late. Yeah, so down at the end of the Vale, turn left, and the car there has gone straight on and has been left pointing in the direction of the track. So it's pointing in the right direction, but it's going to take a bit of a rescue from a tow truck to get it out, and the tow truck needs to get to a point where he can drag it back, and he may want to come from the Formula One pit lane in order to get that car. So safety car number 11 deployed at 3:46 now AM, and straight into the pits as soon as he did get the opportunity. Adam Burgess with the race leading car, 3:76, then coming in for his fourth pit stop, considerably later than the some of the others made their pit stop, but not yet had Simon Harrison in, although I would expect him to take the first opportunity that he gets to come into the pits. So waiting then for Adam Burgess to hand the car over, and say that 376 car with just the three drivers will be handing it back to Darren Beckley, who's already been out. I would imagine it will be Darren Beckley at least who's going to be taking it over, and the car in the pit lane at the moment, safety car making its way around the circuit, gathering the cars into a train, and once they've got the cars into a train, then they'll be able to get the rescue unit into attendance. Here he comes now. Marshals now are coming to the assistance of that car that has stopped in the gravel quite a long way into the gravel, but it is quite a big gravel bed on that infield section where the circuit turns left at the end of the Vale. And a rescue unit also now in attendance. Coming around on the hard standing to pick up the car that's come to grief there. I still haven't quite worked out which one it is, but once we've got the cars lined up behind the safety car and around on a full lap, then we'll be able to work it out. The leader, or rather the safety car, is now coming past the scene of the incident at Club Corner, and driving standards continuing to be exemplary. Everybody behaving themselves as they come past the scene of that car going off. And so as soon as we get the circuit, that car out of the way, then we'll be able to get the circuit back into green flag conditions, and racing will then be able to get back underway. So safety car leading them across the line, and we'll have a little look to see where the leading cars are. Of course, the leading car is actually in the pits at the moment. Adam Burgess having come in as soon as the safety car made its appearance, and so he's already completed 167 laps. The rest of the field going through now to complete their 167th lap, but the Adam Burgess car is going to refuel. Once it's finished refueling, it will come down to the end of the pit lane. And how long has Adam Burgess already been in? Car number 376 has already been in for 4.5 minutes. So 5 minutes, that should have enough time to put it in the fuel, and by the time the entire safety car train has gone past, then Citroen Racing will be able to get out of the pit lane and will then not have a full lap of an advantage, but will be at the back of the safety car queue, whilst the leaders are 10-15 cars into the safety car queue. So good long bit of an advantage. Also coming in, Simon Harrison when he came through there, and Rob Austin. So Simon Harrison, Rob Austin, they'll be able to get much of their pit stop done under yellow flag safety car conditions as well. So out of third place comes Simon Harrison, out of fifth place comes Rob Austin. That will elevate Dean Tompkins at the wheel of the Viking car back into third place, and then we will yes, then we'll see how things pan out, depending where Burgess or not Adam Burgess, because Adam Burgess will have to hand the car over. Number 376, we decided to Darren Beckley. That will almost certainly go. Theoretically, now all the cars have gone through, the pit lane should open and the train of cars in the pits should be released. Cars still coming through. Now the train of cars from the pit lane is released, and is that well, the screen says Adam Burgess coming out of the pits, but I suspect it was probably somebody else, and the screen will tell us soon enough who that is who has taken over the Citroen racing car. Car having already been driven once by Adam Burgess, once by Chris Nyland, once by Darren Beckley. Yeah, so there should be Darren Beckley getting in for his second turn behind the wheel of the car, but at the moment the screen hasn't advised us of that. May take a full lap under the safety car for Adam to come out, or he missed the opportunity to show his U-tag to the machine as he came out of the pits in such a hurry, but we'll see what happens. The car is back out on the circuit at the moment, still being shown as our race leader, but with the safety car leading them round now past the international pits. Then as soon as they come through, we're going to see Callum Hutchings coming through and into the lead, and then and Callum Hutchings is 40. Yes, he's going to be about a minute or so ahead behind the safety car of Dean Tompkins, who will inherit second place. Alex Day, apparently it is, at the wheel of the 333 toll bar racing car, which Rob Austin was driving. No, because that car is also shown as still being Rob Austin. So some of the U-tags not having been picked up as the cars that rejoined under the safety car went through. Looking away to Club Corner, I think the circuit has been cleared there. The safety car train is on the Wellington Straight at the moment, coming down underneath the Wellington Bridge and into Brooklands. The light's still on the safety car as it turns into Brooklands, so even though the circuit looks to be clear at Club, we're going to have another lap behind the safety car, and that gives us at least the opportunity for the TSL timing screen to recognise the drivers in the cars, because I have my doubts of some of them having had their pit stop under the safety car, not having updated themselves correctly. Adam Burgess still being shown in the Citroen racing car 376, Simon Harrison still being shown in the Circuit Pro car 385, and Rob Austin still being shown in the 333 toll bar racing car. And as I say, I think those have probably had changes under the safety car. They were in the pits, they're now out of the pits and following right at the back of this queue of cars, which is now making its way along the start-finish straight, through Woodcote, through Luffield, still coming through Brooklands, and I dare say there's still a train of cars coming down the Wellington Straight as well, underneath the bridge. In fact, there's still cars coming through the loop, so this massive field, which has remarkably, although we've had various incidents, most of them are still running, and very much most of them, not just most of them meant in its most literal way, something like 96, 7, possibly even 98 cars still in the race. I wonder if that might have been, I would speculate who that car was that came off at Club Corner, but certainly makes a change for Club to have been the corner that caught them out. Yes, the Atomic Racing Car 363 still showing as not having been around for now a couple of hours. We've also not seen either Matt Dawson's car or Lawrence Fagg for quite a long time. Both of those cars having been missing. So and possibly Daniel Storkerson with the Amigo Motorsport car number 450 is out of the race as well. So 380, 374, 363 and 450 being the four cars that I would most likely suggest have maybe not going to make it through to the daylight hours. Apart from that, the other 95 looking in fairly good order. Safety car still working its way around the lap, and cars still coming across the start finish line. So my point was that 95 cars still running, and they are filling up pretty much the whole of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Cars still coming through Luffield, looking out towards the loop. There's a bit of a gap, and so no, there's none of the three cars that came in during that safety car period have had their drivers updated. So Adam Burgess, Simon Harrison and Rob Austin all still being shown at the wheel of their cars. So I think that is possibly an error of the pit lane release process, that possibly the UTAG system either wasn't switched on or didn't pick up the cars as they left the pit lane, or they didn't work for some other reason. But anyway, the cars making their way around the international pit straight, and safety car still leading them. The rain over at the Loop and Beckett's, as bad as it's been for the last couple of hours, coming down again quite heavily, and still with the wind picking up again, really sweeping the rain across the circuit, making it very unpleasant indeed out there. 4 o'clock in the morning here at Silverstone, and as I say, it's not going to be a bright sunny morning by any stretch of the imagination. The best we can hope for is just a gradual lightening of the sky, and then we'll see just how wet everything is, and how much debris there is strewn about the place. For I'm sure there's quite a bit that we just haven't seen in the darkness hours. So lights on the safety car as it went through the loop, waiting for it to come into sight at Brooklands, having passed under the Wellington Bridge. We are on lap 169 of this 24-hour race, the Silverstone 24 Hours of 2019. Safety car lights still on. So as they come into Brooklands, say nothing that I can see at Cops that needs dealing with. The car that caused the safety on the car in the first place, as far as we know, was the one that was off at Club Corner. And looking around, just wonder if something is happening at Maggots that we can't see. Anything else that springs to mind that might be causing the extension to this safety car period? So some cars using the opportunity to make extra pit stops. None of them are amongst the leading 50 cars out there. So some of the ones that are a bit further delayed making their returns to the pit lane, or possibly cars that have had problems out on the circuit and having been given assistance to get going again are now making their way further around the circuit. So the queue continues to make its way past the box here at Woodcote. From there it continues on the queue, just arriving. I think the safety cars just trying to work out how far around it is. Yes, just coming into Club Corner now is the safety car, and it will go from there up the International Pit Straight. Having had the previous safety car for 50 minutes in total, we've now had another 20 minutes of this session behind the safety car, which means that the total time in the race thus far behind the safety car is now over 3 hours. Mr. Lee said it was 3 hours and 13 minutes in total on the total count of time behind the safety car, and that is an increasing count at the moment as the safety car makes its way out of the loop down the Wellington Straight once again, the lights flashing as it heads into the Wellington Straight, and then the lights are now switched off. So on the Wellington Straight the lights on the safety car are out, and so we will be going racing as soon as the safety car reaches us back at the start finish straight, and we'll be able to resume with, let's say, just some doubt over who are in the, not the leading cars. It's definitely Callum Hutchings in the lead car, Dean Tompkins in second place. And now we do have the correct driver in the Citroen Racing. That is being shown correctly now as Darren Beckley having taken over. However, Simon Harrison, did he actually come in? Yes, he did, didn't he? So Simon Harrison is still being shown in number 385, and Rob Austin is still being shown in 333. So slight question mark over Simon Harrison and Rob Austin, but Darren Beckley is correctly now being shown in 376. So Simon Harrison in fourth place after his pit stop. So good move to pit under the safety car, didn't lose any ground at all, and so the car that, well, we'll see what happens. Callum Hutchings, by staying out through the safety car, has maintained the lead of the race, because he didn't come in, did he? No, he didn't. And so Callum Hutchings maintain the lead of the race, but he has only 30 seconds now of an advantage over Dean Tompkins. But surely now Callum, coming towards the end of this tank full of fuel, those whom he was on a similar strategy to have made their pit stops already, so they may just have decided that the fuel wasn't quite low enough on Callum's car. Run it till it's dry. So at the moment, Callum Hutchins in the lead of the race, 30 seconds of an advantage over Dean Tompkins, but with a fuel stop to make, Dean Tompkins has plenty of fuel aboard the Viking car, as has Darren Beckley. Simon Harrison is also fully fueled in the Circuit Pro entered car number 385, having just made a pit stop. And now up into 5th place is the Orange Motorsport car, number 449, and I don't think that car has been as high as that in the race thus far. So Orange Motorsport 449 in 5th place, and then Clive Brookson Eastgate Automotive is in 6th place. Gary Preble in 7th with the Silver Lake car, and then the screen is telling me Rob Austin in the Toll Bar car, but I would imagine that that car has had a driver change at its most recent pit stop, in 8th place. Katie Milner is aboard the Team Merlin International car 480 in 9th, and Kieran MacDonald in the ASR car number 390 in 10th place. So back to racing speed. Cars having completed a semi-flying lap. They've received the green flag and have come through and completed a racing lap, which they started with the green flag, and had a proper demonstration of what the race pace is just yet, which is our only indication as to how bad the rain is. Certainly the rain for the moment, the heavy rain, has abated. Still a bit of drizzle in the air, and certainly not at all a pleasant evening to be out. Leading group that from behind the safety car comes through now, and we'll be able to start looking at some lap times very soon indeed. 170 laps completed. 4 cars are on the lead lap, and then 7 cars are just 1 lap behind the race leader. So only 11 from those, and you might have the winner somewhere, but I'm sure something will happen which will shake up the order once again. Callum Hutchins through, and his lead doesn't quite make sense, and that's because we've got another pit caller, because into the pits this time around has come Dean Tompkins. So Dean Tompkins into the pits out of 2nd place. Now this is, to my mind, early in the stint for Dean. He's only been out there a little bit over an hour. Now admittedly he was struggling to make the lap times count, but having had the chance to come in under the safety car, he's eschewed that opportunity, and now we've gone back to green flag racing. Things possibly looking a little bit difficult for Dean Tompkins, so this is a non-scheduled pit stop for Dean. And if the pit lane were a bit closer, I could dive down and find out what was going on, but it's going to take me at least 10 minutes to get there. So we'll see how long Dean is in the pits, but it certainly doesn't strike me as being a stop that the Viking team would have been planning on, and with no pits to car radio, Dean wouldn't have been able to alert them to the fact that he was about to come in. So Dean Tompkins with the Viking car has led the race for a fair wee while before he brought the car into the pits about an hour ago, and since then he lost quite a lot of ground, and that may have been that something was broken on the car that he was dealing with, but now he's decided that he can no longer deal with whatever it is. So problem into the pits for Dean Tompkins. Still being shown on the screen as being in second place, but the beneficiary is going to be Darren Beckley at the wheel of the Citroen Racing car. Callum Hutchings, of course, is kind of de facto benefiting because he was in the lead of the race anyway, so he wasn't particularly worried by Dean Tompkins, but Callum Hutchings in the lead of the race is able to extend his margin at the front. And behind it's going to be Darren Beckley going through, and Dean Tompkins back out again, so lucky I didn't go chasing down into the pit lane because it was a very quick pit stop for Dean, and he's back out again, but he will have lost second place as a result. Darren Beckley has gone through. Simon Harrison, or whoever is at the wheel of the 385 car, has also gone through, and so we'll have Steve Glynn in the orange motorsport car and Clive Brookson in Eastgate Automotive. So still amazingly close this race, that just the shortest of pit stops, and that was a pretty short pit stop for Dean Tompkins, and just checking back to see if we can see what time was actually spent in the pits. And from, yes, it was less than 2 minutes, so whatever Dean's problem was meant spending very little time in the pit lane, and he's now back out again, but no longer in second place, now being shown in third place. And I think Simon Harrison is going to be shown in third place very shortly, because he's already gone through, whilst Dean was in the pits. And we assume that Dean Tompkins stayed at the wheel of the Viking car through the stop. There goes Simon Harrison now through into third place, and we wait for Dean Tompkins to come through in fourth. And will he still be on the lead lap? Well, he might well be. No, I think we said 2 minutes of a pit stop. That's going to lose him, take him off the lead lap, because lap time's down now to 3 minutes and 20s. But illustrating that my hope that the circuit might be drying out a bit, certainly haven't yet come to anything. Still very damp circuit conditions, very difficult indeed for anybody to set quick laps. Steve Glynn in the orange car 449, the orange motorsport car 449, still there in fifth place. Clive Brookson in sixth. Callum Hutchings goes through in the lead of the race. He completes another lap now, and the gap between himself and Darren Beckley in second place, something over a minute. So we're going to have a little bit of a wait yet, and just looking down to see, maybe yeah, Dean Tompkins has held on to fourth place, but can't being shown still on the same lap as the leader, but I think once that car comes through at the end of its next lap, then it will be shown as being a lap down. So 3:25, and in the pits now for Callum Hutchings. So another pit stop. No, that's the one we've been expecting, isn't it? So Callum Hutchings coming in as we've expected after a pretty long stint from him, but involving 2 long-ish periods under the safety car. So race leader Callum Hutchings into the pits now for his scheduled pit stop. Ended up being quite a bit of a longer spell in the lead for the 321 car than we thought it was going to be, helped by good fuel economy for Callum Hutchings, but also by that extra safety car, which rather than use to come into the pits, he's decided to stay out. We're back to green flag racing, and they're going to do their fuel stop whilst it's green flag. The advantage of that is, of course, as soon as you're done your driver change and refueling, you're ready to go, you can go straight back onto the circuit, whereas if you do it on the safety car, you may get held at the pit lane exit. That's one of those things you've got to try and work out and judge what is the better option to take in those circumstances. But scheduled stop then for car 321 from the MSAR Old Hat Motorsport, and that's Callum Hutchings making his 5th pit stop, which may well mean that we're going to go back to Tony Hutchings. We'll see who the driver is at the when it comes up on the screen. This will certainly allow Dean Tompkins to get back onto the lead lap, having a pit stop for the race leader, and so it might not be quite so serious, with Dean Tompkins only losing a couple of minutes with that unscheduled stop. Just wonder if they might have put a different set of tyres on the car, so Daniel Bruce now being shown at the wheel of the 321 car. It will lose the lead, but that was a pretty swift stop, I would say, for that car. For Daniel Bruce to take it over then from Callum Hutchings. Stop in the end of the 321 car. Let's go back and check what that stop was, see if the screen will tell me. Yeah, so it was a pretty quick stop, 3 minutes and 28 seconds only then for the 321. Old Hat Motorsport, and that's considerably quicker than quite a lot of the other teams have been in for their stops, so we're doing something right in the pit lane. And and that will certainly, quick pit stops will help you over the course of a 24-hour race like this. But in overall terms, they do lose the race lead, and we've got Darren Beckley then in the lead of the race for Citroen Racing now, car number 376, just 40 seconds ahead of the car that's still being shown as being driven by Simon Harrison, although I have to say I have my doubts about that one, because Simon was shown as being in the car before its last stop, and that would probably imply that we should have Timmy Hartland back at the wheel of that car. Tim having driven it after Simon Harrison did the first stint, and then Simon coming in after a 40 laps, and so he wouldn't really have stayed in the car, because otherwise he's going to go over his 3-hour driving limit. In fact, he would have already gone over his 3-hour driving limit. So I think that's probably Tim Hartland who's taken over, despite the screen showing as Simon Harrison at the wheel of the 385 car. If there is a penalty, however, as a result of having the wrong driver ID, we'll see what happens on that one. Keep watching the screens. Third place then is Dean Tompkins, having had an unscheduled stop a little while ago, but it was a short, sharp unscheduled stop, and led to him only losing 2 minutes in the pits. So that 2 minutes has pretty much accounted for the time that why he is behind Simon Harrison rather than being ahead of him. Then in fourth place, and because of all the pit stops, now also on the lead lap, combination of pit stops and safety car, in fourth place is Steve Glynn in the Orange Motorsport car. That's number 449. In fifth place is 321, the erstwhile leader from MSAR Old Hat Motorsport. Daniel Bruce now driving that car. Clive Brookson is in the 318 car of Eastgate Automotive Racing. He is in sixth place and is also on the lead lap, and immediately behind him, and I mean immediately behind, less than a second behind, is number 398, the Silver Lake Racing Citroen of Gary Preble. And then just to round out, we've actually got 8 cars on the lead lap now, because finally the 333 car, and that car is now being shown as Alex Day, so gradually we are getting the right drivers shown in the cars. 333 with Alex Day at the wheel, having taken it over from Rob Austin at the last stop. So that was a change, and so we can change that one on the screen as well. Rob Austin having handed the car over to Alex Day in the 333 car at its most recent stop. That car, in any case, only having 3 drivers, the number 333. Sorry, 333, Alex Day, Robert Day, Paul Phillips, Rob Austin, Mike Flounders, 5 drivers in that one. But Rob Austin has done a fair chunk of the driving recently. In fact, so has Alex Day come to that. A pair of them have shared a lot of the night driving. So 333 going well as a result of good pace, and that car is in 8th place. 9th place, car number 411, and that is now Stuart Lynn at the wheel of 411. And in 10th place, just taking over that 10th place position from Katie Milner, is Kieran McDonald in the ASR car. So 390 in 10th place, and 11th place is 480, the Team Merlin International car. So safety car, as they have a habit of doing, closing things up, although it took quite a long time for that to kind of shake itself out to let us see to what extent things have been shaken up, but a large group of cars now on the lead lap, 8 in total, and quite close gaps as well, with Steve Glynn right on the tail of Daniel Bruce, and Clive Brookson not so very far away from the tail end of Gary Preble. Clive Brookson in the Eastgate Automotive car, 318, Gary Preble in the Silver Lake car, 398. Shuffle around to find if there's any more goodies in the Mark Wirral bag which are going to be safe to eat. And no sooner did I suggest that the rain might just be holding off for a little bit and allowing a bit of a dry line to form, then once again it starts throwing it down over at Stowe Corner. Rain, which wasn't a feature of the early stages of the race, but has become more and more of a feature. And I think what makes it hard for the drivers is not quite knowing what's going to come next, because they'll get a couple of laps where the drizzle rain seems to be easing off, think they know where there might be some grip, push on a little bit harder, and then suddenly find there's no grip, so they take things a little bit more cautiously for a few laps and find that people are coming past them thinking, oh, maybe there is a bit more grip available after all. And you have to be so sensitive to those changing conditions as the race unfolds, or risk losing time not being quick enough whilst others are going quickly. Yes, now the screen has updated itself to tell us that Tim Hartland is at the wheel of the second place car. That's the Circuit Pro car, so we were right to say that it wasn't Simon Harrison, so it is Tim Hartland driving the Circuit Pro car, which is correct on the rotation of that 3-driver team, and he is 35 seconds, no less and no more, from the race leader Darren Beckley in the Citroen Racing car. So 376 leads from 385 second place. 419 Dean Tompkins is still, and we have every reason to suppose that is him, despite that extra pit stop that he made. And Dean Tompkins, for the moment at least, of the three of them, Darren Beckley and Tim Hartley, is lapping the quickest. So anything that they had wrong with that car has been addressed now. So whether that was